I do think that New Zealand was willing to accept a hit on its productivity and on the economy. They were willing to take that as a necessary price to pay to sort of get ahead of this COVID situation that was happening. Going forward, just to make sure that we have learned lessons from this pandemic so that we minimize the risk that it happens again. The source of it seems to have been an animal-human transfer of this coronavirus that has then got out of control. And the more we sort of make incursions into natural spaces, the more the chance of something like this happening again increases. And that is, that's a really important thing that I'm not sure we have taken seriously enough. We're sort of dealing with the pandemic at the moment as we should, but I think we also need to plan for how we're going to try and minimize this in the future. And I do think that we can learn, we have the capacity to learn from our mistakes. And if we are willing to learn and willing to make the changes that we need to make, I think there is a lot to look forward to in the future. In New Zealand, we sort of had a national lockdown that was initiated in March last year. And that was for a while, that was for almost 2.5 months, which was a very different way of living because, you're basically working from home. You only leave to go shopping. You couldn't catch up with friends and family. So all of that was just a very different way of being.
The big thing for us, because of the same things, it was good to have the kids at home and spend more time with them. It was good to have the flexibility to work remote when we needed to, and to take breaks as we needed if the kids needed something.
For me, a big part of it was spending time with the kids. With both the kids, I went back to work almost as soon as they were born, and so this was actually a good, almost a year of being able to spend the day with them, watch how they act at school, watch how they kind of eavesdrop in on their calls. Well, I think in the grand scheme of things, it wasn't handled as well as it could have been. If, I shouldn't say the government, but better management, things might not have gotten so out of control. But it was a blessing in disguise in so many ways.
Yeah, that's a good point, because there's also other things we saw initially when the global pollution went down, or people didn't commute as much, or didn't have to commute as much. People were cooking food at home and home cooked meals. And I guess people became a little more self-sufficient.
I think generally, for me, the good thing was that I think you kind of slowed down because my work involves so much travel that you just keep hopping from place to place, from assignment to assignment. But here we are forced to sit down and think about what needs to be done. And I think one of the things where we were totally unprepared for a crisis like this in that sense, because what happens that, say, for 6 months you don't shoot anything? What happens to your business? What happens to your life? We never thought of it that way. So it was sit down and think, what can we do if something like this happens? I think essentially what happened was, it was a big surprise. The way things turned out. When the year began, there were these little rumors about this virus that was spreading in China, and we were just hearing these things, and then suddenly it hit us. And we, as a country, I don't think we were really prepared for it. We didn't know the protocols, we didn't know how to go about doing things. So I think we were learning along and looking at other countries and just moving forward. Yeah, I think, there's a terrible side to it because we are losing people, losing lives. But at the same time, I think it's given us a wake-up call about many things. One is, how do you deal with such a colossal, large-scale pandemic and a disaster like that? So I think everybody has woken up to the fact that only if you work together can you deal with something like this. So I think that awakening is something, unfortunately needed something like this to get people up and going. That's the bad and the good of this whole thing. that's another great thing, right? People are becoming more efficient, and I think they value time, and they've accepted digital media, I think, which is very important in my opinion. And I think it's good for the planet, if not anything else.